In the heart of the eastern coast, there stood a small settlement named Kuta. The people of Kuta were known for their fishing, and the sea was both their wealth and their fear. Every month, on the last day, the fisherman stayed far from the waves. It was believed that on that day, the sea released its hidden creatures, beings who hunted for men to devour. No one ever questioned it, no one dared. The elders told stories of fishermen who vanished, never to return, swallowed by the deep. That silence of the sea at the month's end became law. But one young man named Ohai carried a burden so heavy he could no longer respect such traditions. He was a fisherman's son, strong of arm but heavy of heart. His mother had died only weeks earlier, leaving him with debts he could not repay. Neighbors whispered, creditors hounded, and shame walked with him wherever he went. He saw no way out, except through the very sea everyone else feared. With no rivals on the water, he could return with nets heavy with fish, enough to change his fortune. That forbidden day, while the village watched the horizon with weary eyes, Ohai pushed his canoe into the sea. The water was too quiet, the kind of quiet that made the skin crawl. He paddled far, ignoring the pounding of his heart. He cast his net, waiting, when his eyes caught something strange upon the rocks ahead. At first, he thought it was the shimmer of the sunset, but then he saw it clearly. A woman, or rather, something more than a woman. Long hair, wet and shining, fell across her back. A tail of scales glistened where her legs should have been. His breath caught. A mermaid. Ohai's limbs froze. Fear held him down, yet he could not turn away. The mermaid's eyes fixed on him, but instead of dragging him under, she smiled. Confusion swept through him. His mind screamed to flee, but his arms would not move. He left the sea trembling that night, vowing never to speak of what he had seen. Yet curiosity gnawed at him, and the next evening, against reason, he returned. She was there, as if waiting. One night became two, two became many. Slowly, the fear dissolved into wonder. Her name was Lomi, and she had watched men from the shadows of the deep for years. With Ohai, she found someone willing to listen. He spoke to her of his mother's death, of the weight of death, of his loneliness. She told him secrets of the sea. In time, he discovered something astonishing. When Lomi wept, her tears hardened into diamonds. At first, it seemed like a blessing. One night, when storms had destroyed his net and his canoe, leaving him with nothing, Lomi's sorrow filled his hands with gems. He sold them and quickly rebuilt his life. He bought new nets, finer than any in Kuta. He built a new canoe. He paid his debts. For the first time in years, he breathed freely. And still, he kept her secret. But as his life improved, Ohai's heart changed. He began to want more. He no longer dreamed of simple nets filled with fish but of wealth beyond imagining. The diamonds that had saved him planted seeds of greed that grew with every passing day. At first, Lomi gave her tears willingly, believing she was helping the man she trusted. But soon Ohai began to ask too often. He demanded when she hesitated. The hunger inside him twisted into something darker. One night, he told himself that if Lomi's tears could bring such wealth, then he must keep her near forever. He waited until the forbidden night, when no other fisherman roamed the shore. Carrying a heavy club, he paddled to their usual meeting place. She greeted him with joy, but he struck her head before she could speak. Stunned, she fell, and he dragged her into his canoe. She was alive, barely, and he took her to his home, hiding her in a cart beneath mats, water trailing behind him as he pulled her through the village. Inside his house, he bound her hands and gagged her mouth. He tended her wound not from kindness, but to keep her alive. When she awoke, sorrow filled her, but Ohai's words crushed her spirit further. He told her she was now his wealth, that she would weep for him until he was the greatest man alive. Days turned into weeks. When she refused to cry, he beat her until her tears fell. Each diamond he gathered with greedy hands. Soon, Ohai was richer than any man in Kuta. He built a vast house, wore golden rings, and walked with pride that turned to arrogance. The people whispered, "How had a man once poor beyond measure risen so high, so fast?" Some suspected spirits, others accused him of dark charms. Among the doubters was a young man named Aaron, sharp-eyed and restless. Unlike the others, he sought the truth. One night, while Ohai drank in the square, Aaron crept to his compound and found a small window cracked. Peering inside, he saw a sight that froze him, a woman with a shimmering tail, chained in the dim light. A mermaid, bruised and broken. When her eyes met his, she begged for freedom. Before Aaron could act, Ohai returned. Aaron hid, watching through the window. Ohai demanded diamonds once more, beating Lomi until her tears fell. Aaron's heart pounded as he witnessed the truth behind Ohai's wealth. He fled into the night, haunted by the vision. He could not sleep. The mermaid's face, her suffering, burned into him. At last, he resolved to save her. The next night, he returned. This time, luck was with him. Ohai staggered home drunk and left the gate unbarred. Aaron slipped inside with a cart. Through the window, he freed Lomi, her body weak but her spirit still alive. He carried her to the cart and pushed toward the shore. But Ohai awoke with a start. Finding her room empty, he seized his gun and gave chase. He caught sight of Aaron at the gates and roared, firing into the night. The noise drew the villagers. They poured into the streets, following the chaos to the shore. There, Aaron struggled to lift Lomi into the sea. Ohai confronted him, gun raised. He shouted that the mermaid was not human, that she was his wealth, his right. The villagers murmured in shock, some supporting, some condemning. In that moment, Lomi summoned her last strength. She dragged herself from the cart and flung her body into the waves. The sea welcomed her with a glow that lit the waters. Ohai screamed, diving in after her, but the ocean rose in fury. The waves swallowed him as he cried for help, dragging him down until he vanished. Only silence remained. By morning, Ohai's lifeless body washed upon the shore. The villagers buried him without honor. Some pitied him, but most spoke his name as a warning. As for Lomi, she returned to her kin in the deep, who had searched endlessly for her. They embraced her, and she was never seen again. The people of Kuta told her story for generations. They said greed may fill your hands, but it will always empty your soul. And if you love African folk tales and inspirational stories like this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next powerful story. See you in the next story.